Hello everybody, and welcome back to Leeton. I'm Jace, and it's a miserable-ish bank holiday Sunday. Today's plan, build yet another compost bay over there, because after sorting out all those log piles, we've got some pallets that were at the bottom of those piles. So going to get those in place as best we can. And if you can make out where the wheelbarrow is at the back there, there's a pile of soil and weeds and turf, because we've been putting edges on the flower beds in the main garden. All of it's got dumped down here. Now that's really good stuff if you can turn it upside down, grass down, pile it up, leave it, cover it in some black polythene bags, etc., and leave it, and that will all rot down and turn into a nice soil, loam type soil. So that's that plan, but it's all got to get organised. It's all falling apart and spreading around, etc. And might have to do a bit of work on the compost heap over there as well, because that's not hot anymore. It's cooled right down. So that's going to need turning, I think, and put some water in it as well, because it's probably dried out. That heap over there that we started we finished last week, that's at about 60 degrees. That one is ambient temperature, so today 15, something like that. So that's the plan. So just making this extra compost bay, and what I'm doing is I'm actually cutting the conifer branches back so I can push the bays back further. And the idea of that is it saves quite a lot of space. You lose about 2 foot in branches really. And the other thing is I want them set back into the hedge so that I can eventually build some proper bays here with a proper roof on, and some guttering, and at the far end of the bays will be an IBC container, so the roof will collect all the rain and it will run into the IBC. But then I can stand on the roof to cut this hedge because it's a pain. So anyway, yesterday I bought myself some new secateurs, which we'll try out. They're only about £8, but we'll give them a go. Sharp enough. Yeah, very nice. I'm just using cable ties because all of this is only temporary. I'm doing it this way, and then when I want to get into one of the bays or turn it or whatever, I can cut the ties, put them in the recycling, do what I've got to do, and then put the pallet back. When I build the proper system, the proper bays, there'll be lift out pieces of wood that lift out and slot back in. I'll just put them top and bottom. That seems to work alright. I'm going to be a pallet short to finish this bay, but I'll pick one up next time I'm on site somewhere. I work in a lot of factories and warehouses and what have you. So getting pallets and cardboard, all that sort of stuff, I find pretty easy. So because I haven't got a pallet to go at the front, I'm going to put a stake down here to stop this from pushing this way when I pile all this soil up against it. I'm probably going to have to go and get the big hammer, but to start it off, that'll do. It's literally so I can still get into that corner. I've got four compost bays now, once I get another pallet, and that will just get left. We've probably got a bit more to add to it yet, and then once we've finished adding to it, I'll cover it over. Just compost bags really, cut down or cut open, laid over it, bricks on the top. That'll stop the weeds from growing, and over a year or so it will shrink down and it will turn into a nice soil as the grass and the weeds rot and compost down, and then we can just use that around the garden for whatever. Okay, so the next job that I really need to do is sort this temporary compost heap out. Now I started this, I can't remember, probably the back end of last year, and probably January time it was filled up to the top of this brick here, and it's dropped now, it's about here, and it's also lost its temperature. It was up at 60 degrees and it's just cooled down, and there's going to be three reasons for that. One, it's dried out because there's no moisture left. The bacteria and the microorganisms can't function, they can't keep rotting down the material. Another reason could be that it's just got no air in it, because again, the microorganisms are a living thing, they need oxygen, they need air. And the other reason could be there's just nothing left in there for it to decompose, to rot down, for the microorganisms to feed off. Now I don't think that's the case, because I can still see some green material in there, and it hasn't been there long enough for that to happen. So it's going to be a combination, I suspect, of no air, no oxygen and no moisture. So I'm going to get all this stuff out of the way, I'm going to drag it all out, and I'm going to turn it all over and put it all back in. And by doing that, what will happen is I will add oxygen in there and air in there. I will loosen it up and create air pockets, and as it's raining there will also be some moisture getting in there, and I'll probably add a bit with a watering can as well to make sure that there's everything in there, in that pile, that it needs to continue to rot down. And I'll do that, and then in a few days time I'll come out, I'll put the thermometer in it, and I would be fairly confident that it will be increasing in temperature. Probably not back up to 60 degrees again, probably up to something like 35, 40 degrees in the active region for a compost heap. And the compost heap over there is 60 degrees now, but we've only just finished filling that one. That will cool down, and in a few months time I'll have to do the same thing over there as I am here today. So let's get on with it. So you can actually see there the layers. So we've got a brown layer at the bottom, and then we had a green layer which has turned brown, and then we had another brown layer. You see the shredded paper and the cardboard and what have you, and then another green layer, then a brown layer, and then a green layer. And that's how I build my heaps, and they will start to rot down, get very hot that way, and then when I turn them, that sets them off again. And on the top, a lot of this is coffee grounds. I get a lot of coffee grounds from a local garage. So there's a slug. I'm not certain if that's a good slug or a bad slug. You need to do some research on slugs. Not all slugs are bad. Some slugs eat other slugs. And I got a feeling that these ones eat other slugs. That one will eat your plants, I think. I think the white ones, the little white ones, eat your plants. I think these, I can't remember the name, are they tiger slug or something like that? I think they eat other slugs. But don't quote me on that. I am not a slug expert. Right, it's chucking it down with rain. I'm going to have a drink and then come out and do this. Okay, when it comes to dealing with compost, the best tool I found is a manure fork. Just to handle it is fantastic, and it's got a long handle, so it makes life easier for me being tall and doesn't do my back in so much. Now what I'm going to do is try and anything that's still green, put it to one side, and then put that back in the middle of the pile when I've turned it all, because it's the green stuff that really makes things hot. Grass cuttings especially, they're amazing for it, and big piles of weeds, they get hot really quick. So I'm going to put the greens to one side, drag the rest out with this and a rake, chuck it back in, put the greens in the middle, and then other stuff back on the top. And that's really all there is to it. Adding a bit of water as I go and breaking up any bits that are stuck together to add air and oxygen. And this is really dry. You can see how dry it is, and that's why, or one of the reasons why, it's stopped heating up. So now I've got it to this point, I'm not going to drag all this out, I'm just going to turn it over and get some air into it. It's damp enough, doesn't need any water. So now I'm going to pile up this stuff that is quite well sort of half decomposed right up here. Then I'll put the front in, scrape it back so it's sort of level and about half full. Then I'll put the greens in, and then I'll put what's left on top. So that's the front back on. What I'm going to do now is scrape this lot level, the side. It's quite damp, so I'm not going to put any water in. And then I'm going to put all these greens in. And then everything else on the top. that's it all back in the pile, and a bit of plastic, and you can see that's probably a good 3 or 4 inches higher than it was, and that's just because it's been fluffed up. It's just got more air in it now, and that it will sink, it will continue to settle, but by putting the green stuff in the middle, that will help it heat up again, and it's plenty damp enough, so I'm not going to worry about that. I think another 2 or 3 months and that won't be far off ready. Probably just sieve it a bit and pull out the big pieces and put them in one of the other heaps, and that'll be good to go in the garden. So I hope you've enjoyed that video about composting, building another bay, soil, turf, and turning a heap, and the reasons why we turn a heap. So if you've enjoyed it, please hit the thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed, please do, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.